Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Africam show. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and I'll be hosting you for the next 45 minutes. For those of you that are just joining us for the first time and are wondering, what on earth am I watching? Well, you're watching a live camera stream. Yes, I said live. This is actually happening right now in Kenya in an area called Oldonyo, which is sandwiched between Amboseli and Tsavo National Park. And essentially what I'm here to do is to talk about all the wonderful animals that we're going to be see on the various cameras. But it's not just this camera. We've got access to many cameras all over the world. But we're going to be focusing on the cameras within Africa. So get ready to spend the next 45 minutes hopefully seeing all sorts of weird and wonderful things. You can, of course, ask me as many questions as you like. And it looks like the regulars have just jumped on in. So let's say hello. Casper's third ghost, you've said hello. And today you are drinking coffee. Wonderful. I had 2 cups of coffee much earlier this morning because it's already 4 o'clock in the afternoon in South African time. Then we got Aussie Jan. You said good afternoon. And it's coffee break time. I love how the different time zones all over the world make it so interesting. I'm ready for a gin and tonic, and those of you just waking up will definitely not be ready for one of those. And then, dear NC, you've said hello all the way from Seattle, and that you're ready with your coffee. All normal drinks today. Good to see. But I know that there are going to be a few more of you jumping on. And as I said, that bowl of kittens. Yum! How exciting. A bowl of kittens. Made me giggle, sorry. You said hello, everybody, and you're excited for the show, and also because you have watermelon kombucha. There we go. There's the strange stuff that I've been looking out for. I've gone off of kombucha, bowl of kittens. I'm now drinking, is it kefir or kefir water? Just every now and then. But anyways, there is, of course, a lovely giraffe standing at my absolute favorite waterhole, which one day I'll have the opportunity to go and visit. Like I said, this is in Kenya, Oldonyo. And I wish we were able to pull up a picture from just a couple of months ago just to show you the difference in how green everything has gotten. Especially because Kenya's had the worst floods it's had in over 150 years. They actually can't find a recording of floods that they've had. It's kind of started off the end of last year and progressed right through the dry season and into the long rains, and the long rains didn't stop. So I'm not sure exactly when this area stopped receiving rain, but it looks like a little while ago because of how green the grass was in this area just around the water system itself. You can see how yellow it is and how the ground is bare. It was once a long, lush carpet of green grass. But it is what it is. I suppose that's what happened in dry season, although it started a bit later than usual. Wonderful. Okay, there we go. We've got Jean Gale. You said good morning from Seattle. You're on your second hot coffee. There we go. Great. You're also having granola. And you're keeping an eye on the sky. Is the grey smoke from the mountains or maritime air from the ocean? These are questions I probably won't be able to answer. But I can tell you that giraffe is having a drink of water in the most compromising position. Always feel sorry for giraffe. It's almost like they need to do a warm-up before they can bend. If I were to do that, I'd most certainly pull a muscle. And I'm sure there's a couple of you that would agree. Maybe somebody's knees would go. I'm not really sure. My knees are still all right. And then April Owl, you've... what have you... Oh, you said it's stormy in Connecticut. Okay. I hope you have your umbrella or raincoat, or you could perhaps just makeshift a raincoat like I've done in the past. You've got a berry muffin and cherry iced tea. Ooh, always loving the iced tea. Glenda Newmarket Craft. You said you're happy to have me with you today. Well, I'm happy to be here. It was a nice surprise. And of course, Mr. HUAE87. You've got cake from your sister's swan birthday last night, and you're just drinking juice. Fabulous. Now you've got to tell us what flavor the cake was, of course. And I'm sure you can hear all the birds that are chirping. That very prominent sound is just coming from the oxpeckers, the birds that are fluttering around on top of the giraffe. You can see them desperately trying to dive down into its ears. And if I was an oxpecker, I would most certainly be targeting animals while they're drinking, because they are compromised. They're so focused on literally drinking water, doing what they need to do, And then, of course, they're always looking out around them. But while they're, taking that sip, and they gulp it down a lot quicker and in larger volumes than you and I could. Not that I've ever been in a drinking competition with a giraffe or an impala, for an example. There's always, something I could do. But because the giraffe is so focused on completing the task, and it's quite a strenuous one, it gives the opportunity for the oxpeckers to dive deep into the ears, into areas that normally the animals are not so tolerant of them, investigating. Imagine trying to stick something in your ear, and even though there are ticks inside there, it's still probably painful and annoying. So good for you oxpeckers for taking an opportunity. You can see how they've all moved away now, knowing that it's going to end up in an immediate head shake. Oh, Kirsten, who's of course directing the show, you've just told me that there's a lilac-breasted roller at Lentoro Lodge. Please can we go there? Because this is a lodge that I've been so badly wanting to visit, everybody. I cannot tell you how it's so high up, and it's difficult to say in Kenya which lodge do I want to visit first. I don't know if it's going to be Aldonyo or, in fact, this camp called Lentoro. If you're a photographer, it is a photographic dream come true. They have a hide. You can spend all night in it. And it's spectacular. They see great things. So I'm so glad that they're on board with Africam. This is incredible. Now, back to, of course, the most important thing, seeing as though this is a wildlife show. This is a lilac-breasted roller. I reckon everybody that comes on a safari to an area where lilac-breasted rollers occur knows how to identify this bird. There's really nothing else that looks like it. It must be one of the most photographed birds in terms of the pretty ones that are posted about on social media and websites and all those types of things. But isn't it absolutely gorgeous? And it's sitting still for a change and not 200 meters away, where we're normally used to seeing them. Now, there really isn't much sexual dimorphism between males and females, so I couldn't even begin to tell you which one is the male and which one is the female. They both are blessed with these beautiful, vibrant colors, and you can quite easily see where they get their name from. That lovely lilac coloring just popping out on the breast feathers, and then you can just see these little streaks of white as well. But it's more prominent when you look at a purple roller. Actually, you start to see those white flecks on its breast a lot easier, but still stunning. And I love it because it's a resident, so all year round it doesn't migrate at all. You can also hear a couple of other birds chirping around in the background. But this branch that the lilac-breasted roller is sitting on is definitely one that's used quite regularly. You can just start to see little bits of white. This is a year's athlete from probably a variety of different birds, and it comes from their feces. I don't know what that was, chatting away. I want to say it reminds me of, no, not one of the weavers. I actually don't know what it is. Let me not even try and guess. My identifying bird calls in East Africa, well, yeah, I could do some work. We've got Josh Drown. You said Lontoro has a very active genet and striped hyena. Are you kidding me? Don't say things like that, Josh, because I will get on a plane right now. If I had a private plane, I would do that. I don't, so I'm just going to have to wait a while. But that's one of the reasons why I want to get there. Oh, look at it, just took off. I hope you got some good screenshots. That would have been the most perfect opportunity with a beautiful bird just sitting so still. I have no idea what half of these birds are, but this tree is providing a good amount of shade and perching for the bird. You can see the lilac-breasted roller is actually just flown just to the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And I'm sure there's going to be a second one around here because they're always in pairs. So that might even be a different one. I'm trying to think what that sound is. And Zygote, you said grey-headed kingfishers are also at Lontoro almost every single day. I'm going to have to start watching this camera in preparation for one day when I visit, because I do only see pictures of lions and leopards and striped hyena and caracal and all things like that posted on Lontoro's social media. So it's nice to see a couple of the birds. And then Kauru, you've said that there's also a northern red-billed hornbill. That's awesome. Do you know how many new birds I could get just by watching this? Now I'm just sitting listening to the calls. It might be one of the starting species that are calling, Kauru. You're quite right. Trying to think. I don't actually have any East African bird apps installed on my phone right now. I did that thing where my phone was full and was too lazy to kind of go through and delete images and videos. So I just started deleting apps. So I don't have, but just have a look. I don't know which starling it is, but ashy starlings, they're quite common. You see them in East Africa. I'm just trying to think what their call would be. I have to download Merlin Birds for those of you that want a free bird app. Go check out Merlin Birds. I think it's made by or associated with the Cornell ornithology sort of group. Maybe check it out and just have a look. Lilac-breasted roller, aren't you just so beautiful? Not really too perturbed by anything else. Just sort of sitting and watching, I suppose, for an opportunity, an insect to reveal itself. Otherwise, they spend most of their time perched on a branch looking pretty. They do that job really well. Well, I'm glad that you all started a bird list for this camera. That is amazing. I can imagine that the mornings must be absolutely beautiful. Here's some doves in the background. And a bee or a fly, all sorts of things. I also want to say the hum of a generator, but you can barely hear that. I'm just so used to that sound. I actually had such a great sighting the other day at home where I'm living now. They regularly grade the roads. Well, they don't use a big grading machine. They just drag, it's about 6 tires, sorry, behind a vehicle. And the soil is so fine. It's the most amazing thing to see, especially early morning tracking. And then quite often what I'll go and do is before I go to bed, I'll go flatten out an area just so that I can see the tracks nicely. And I've seen all sorts of great mammal tracks, but what I've been so fascinated by is the bird tracks. So I have to be honest with you. We all know how honest I am. The garden that I have, it's been neglected for the last couple of years. There's some amazing plants, but I'm bringing them back to life, but I have to do so slowly. And I'm trying to get the Birdlife back up and running in the garden. So I've been putting out wild bird seed, but the problem is that I barely see any birds around the garden. So I've walked out behind the fence to see where they've been feeding. And now I'm putting a little bit of seed and gradually moving it close to the house. And this morning I had a whole bunch of birds in the garden, which was really great. Some of them starting to peck at the seed. I'll eventually have lots of birds. Where I'm going with that is that watching the birds on the roads, it's so great. I never thought I'd really be able to identify little blue waxbill tracks. It's a tiny little bird, but there's so many of them between them and the firefinches hopping around on the ground. And then I had a lilac-breasted roller, and of course I didn't have my phone on me. Swooped down, land on the ground, and grabbed a grasshopper that had mistakenly jumped into the open road, and then it kind of took off again. And it was so great to see their feet. I'll have to post the photo. I went out, I quickly ran back and grabbed my phone and came back, but it was a bit of a windy day, so it's not as clear as like sort of when it happened. But looking at birds' feet or the tracks that are left in the sand has just opened a whole new window for me. I didn't think I'd be so interested, but seeing how they move is fabulous, because let's be honest, for the most part we just see birds sitting in trees or sitting on the ground, not really getting up to too much all the time. So being able to add to those skills, watching a behavior and then seeing the evidence left behind, the tracks in the road, I can look at them now and go, oh, okay, this is what a bird's track looks like when it's landing. Or this is what a bird's track looks like when it's taking off. You can see how the wind has obviously generated uplift. It's disturbed all the dust. It was great. Okay, we've got Rolling Trouble who's jumped on in. You're a little bit late, better late than never. You've got a hot pot of coffee on the go. That's good, that's good. I hope the coffee's nice and strong. And then, John, you said howdy from sunny Florida. Good day to you. Lilac breasted roll has a little bit of an itch, but as you can imagine, although we don't really see it, are covered in mites and little parasites. So they need to do the odd scratch every now and then. Oh, it's killing me that I can't identify these bird calls. Okay, only going to take a break from the lilac-breasted roller. Let's head back to South Africa, to the east coast, to check out some more birds. Oh, wow, look at them. This is a familiar sound, one we hear always at Tembe, but it's the dark-capped bulbul that we're looking at the moment. You can see where they get their name, right? The dark cap, the black sort of patch that covers their head. And then they've got a very uniform sort of gray breast, slightly darker with a tinge of brown onto the wings. And then on the underside of the tail, you'll see, and where the rump is essentially, there we go. The one on the top left is lifting its tail a bit, that flash of yellow. So very common garden birds throughout South Africa. They eat all sorts of things. They eat fruit, they eat insects, they'll peck at seeds. They've got quite a varied diet. But right now, this afternoon, I reckon that they are facing to the east with their backs to the west, just sort of catching the last of that sun. Although I'm looking at how that tail is moving up and down. It looks like there's a bit of a breeze, so the wind might have some control of which way they're facing. Look how they use those tails to balance. It's just absolutely amazing how they're able to hold on like that. Okay, we're going to go from one bird to another. It's great to see the bulbuls, but let's go to some rather large ones all the way in Zimbabwe. Oh, gosh, we've gone from one beautiful bird to another that is deemed one of the ugly 5 individuals. If we could add birds to it, there's a mammals one, there's a birds one, there's all sorts of things. But anyways, the Marabou stork, and they're frequent visitors in this area. The reason why we see them quite often around this waterhole is because at Toria Falls, at this particular safari lodge here, they also have vulture feeding stations. All those little African black crake, I don't know if you saw it to the left, just running behind the Marabou storks. But essentially, by doing this, they will help the vulture populations within the area. And Marabou storks are scavengers; they love to eat the scraps. So why would you need to move away, right? You're going to probably be getting fed fairly regularly. We know with birds, their digestive system is quite different to how most mammals operate. But they don't have a permanent storage container. They don't have like a permanent stomach that can hold food for long periods of time. So they can't like engorge themselves. Okay, it's slightly different with vultures. But they have got those crops, which are like temporary lunch boxes, if you will, and they get digested. But there's only a limited size. And if you're getting fed frequently enough, there's fresh water here, it seems like a safe enough place, you just hang around. Why waste your time going to search for anything else? There's also a helmeted guinea fowl. You can see one standing on the right. There's actually a couple of them. The more you start to search for them, they kind of pop up. They might be here just for the water. And that's what guinea fowl typically do at this time of the afternoon. But with the Marabou storks, the 2 that we can actually just see, they're not up to too much. They're standing, which birds love to do, whether it's on a branch or on the ground. But then they're also doing a little bit of feather maintenance, which is very important. You can imagine, for you and I, we might go, well, what does that even mean? If I don't brush my hair for 3 days, right, who's it going to affect? Just me, and I probably look a bit on the scrappy side. But when you're a bird and you don't do daily feather maintenance, you're not going to be able to fly. And, unless you're a penguin or a ostrich, it's going to be a problem because that's the way that you rely on moving around, right? Especially great distances. So the Marabou storks, I mean, they're notorious for traveling huge distances. They fly straight up, they catch the thermals as well, they open those wings. And although they don't have to flap them too much when they're at the ultimate cruising altitude, getting up to that height can be quite difficult. So they need to get rid of all those old feathers that are not doing their jobs, realign the little barbules, the little barbs, sorry, that are on the barbules, on the feathers. They act like a zip. Super important. You can also hear a helicopter now flying over. Somebody probably going to do an aerial tour of the area. Can you imagine? In a helicopter with a vulture and a marabou stork flying next to you as you fly over the falls itself? No, I'm just joking. That's obviously. We all know I can dream. But nonetheless, really interesting to see the marabou storks. They're such fascinating birds. I wish we got to see them more regularly in parts of South Africa, but I don't always find that's the case. Just see them every now and then. Something is rustling in the bushes. Can you hear that? I don't know if there's elephants maybe coming down, or if there's something else. There has to be something else moving through the vegetation. We're just having a wider look now. This is the same camera. There's elephants on the right, so they are coming in. There's lots of guinea fowl, lots more marabou storks. Well, that's exciting. So we'll just be patient. We'll see if these elephants are going to come into view. And it might be quite nice to watch them. We've always got to... Oh, I don't know what that was. Maybe some elephant was touching the camera. But we're getting too close to the mic. Who knows? Hopefully there's just more than one. But they'll also come here daily. Look at how... I mean, I was telling you about how dry and arid it is at Aldonyo around that waterhole, but look at this. This is next level dryness, right? So Southern Africa, as I'm sure you're all exhausted of hearing, is having a drought at the moment, and at this time of the year it is normal for sort of Southern Africa to, especially the northern part of South Africa, but the rest of Southern Africa, for it to be quite dry and not a lot of vegetation around. But you can imagine this spot over here, the waterhole that is pumped daily, so there's fresh water. Sorry, everybody, we're just going to mute the sound there. Sorry about that. That's a bit obnoxious. And I'll just make elephant noises when they trumpet, and I can do the splashing sound, so don't worry, I've got that covered. But you can see lots of animals will be coming through here. Look at all the different pathways that are leading through the trees. There's all sorts of things walking by. No elephants, come back. They disappeared. Ah, well, that's disappointing. The elephants don't want to stay today, which is so unusual. I thought maybe today will be the day we get the crocodile versus elephant action live. We've seen so many clips of the two species interacting, but I am yet to see it while I'm hosting one of the shows. Another thing that's quite interesting that you can see quite easily on the marabou storks is look how white their legs are. Now, there's no feathers. They're not like eagles that have feathers that go all the way down their legs to where their feet are. But it's bare skin and almost scaly, if you will, if you've ever seen what birds' legs look like. But it's bright white. And then look at their feet are pitch black. So their legs are actually sort of a lightish gray to dark brown, black color. My color palette is very limited. I could never work at a store where they sell paint. That is actually them urinating and defecating straight onto their legs. So this process is called urohydrosis, and it's so fascinating. I'll also never forget the day that I learned about this, because we all don't know a lot of things, right? But when I was much younger, I didn't know anything. about guiding. And my mind and my jaw was just literally dropped to the ground listening to one of my mentors explaining this entire process. Eastern Cape, so we don't really Marabou storks and things like that very often, or any species that really perform hydrosis. So we're actually being told about it. So I was like, oh my gosh, gotta get out and see this. So that's by painting their legs white, essentially, not with a paintbrush. Otherwise, it would be a much more even job. It just helped reflect the sun away from their legs, so it can really help with cooling them down. And then I see there are some questions. Rolling Trouble, you've said you wonder if they know that they are ugly. I don't know. I mean, I suppose we look at them and I'm like, oh, we're all beautiful in our own ways, aren't we? But they really are not just attractive animals. We all laugh at a wildebeest and we talk about the leftovers being put together. But I think that that's honestly really happened with the marabou stork. I'm sure that that saying first came around when somebody saw that bird, and then it's just transpired to wildebeest as well. And now I'm just quickly reading from Kauru. We've got a two-part question here. I'm going to read it out together and then I'm going to carry on. So you've said, how do birds know that there is a lot of food in a pan? You noticed that at Victoria Falls some time ago, the pink-backed pelican showed up in a flock after a lot of Marabou storks. Um, and then you said the yellow-billed storks have also been there for a couple of weeks before them. Suddenly, there were a lot of pelicans. So how did they know to show up in that pan? So I don't know if you know this, Kauru. It's so interesting. Do you know that pelicans migrate? Um, I would have to do more research on this because I'm trying to think, where on earth do all the pink-back pelicans come from? I'm the reason why I'm asking this is because you see it in Zambia around, when is it? End of well, end of October, beginning of November, sometime around there. You see these huge migrations of pelicans to South Luangwa National Park. You come around the corner, and I've told the story before. You'll never ever think that you're going to see pelicans there. I mean, even in an area like this, why on earth would there need to be pelicans here, right? So you probably find that maybe it's a group of birds that are traveling from point A to point B. They are stopping over to top up on resources. Perhaps they see other birds moving into those areas, and well, we all follow social cues, right? Maybe they know what's going up. Let's go see where the marabou storks are. So it could be something along those lines. I reckon it's just by sight, maybe associating other animals in a particular area. I mean, like, for example, a flock of red-billed quailias is probably not going to show to Vol and marabou storks, right? Because they don't eat the same thing. But I have noticed that these birds have an understanding, at least, of what each bird eats. They have to, right? We can't deem these animals that unintelligent, that they don't know what's kind of going on. So I don't know if it's got something to do with that. I suppose it could be a number of different things. And also, birds or animals, just in general, same thing as people. We remember, okay, once we went to that spot and the food was amazing, 10 out of 10. Let's go back and try it. And you go back, and the next time you're like, oh my goodness, that was only 2 out of 10. What happened last time? And maybe instead of it being a bad meal for the animals, there was just a lack of it, or the water had dried up, or something along those cases. So they've checked, they've gone, okay, this wasn't a good idea, but let's move on to another space. And they'll probably still come back and try their luck, because there's only a limited amount of places they can go to, especially if they are traveling in big groups. And, for example, on a migration, they'll, for the most part, follow a set route. And then April, you've asked, what is the bluebird in the lower right-hand corner with the marabou storks? Was it not the helmeted guinea fowl? I'm so sorry. I just saw that question pop up now, but there were loads of helmeted guinea fowls moving around. There's one there in between the storks. Sorry, I'm moving my not screen. I'm not moving my screen. My tab around, just so I could see it properly. What's that stork doing? Hey, why are you touching that plant? You don't eat leaves. Stop doing that. Do you think it's having a sword fight? My beak is bigger than yours. I have no idea why that bird is fiddling with the branches. To be fair, I do it as well. I just walk up to a tree and pull a leaf off, or pick a stick up on the ground for no reason. I wonder, let's see what it's going to do. This is quite interesting. Are you going to try pull the whole branch off? Are you cleaning your beak? Is it like floss? What are you doing? Tell us. Oh, and then Kirsta's just said that there is one Marabou stork at, Victoria Falls, where we are now, that apparently is obsessed with sticks. Maybe this is the one. That's so funny. I suppose we all pick up quirky habits, right? And perhaps this Marabou stork is just infatuated with sticks. Good for you. Isn't that incredible? Look how it runs its beak through its feathers. And you can see the white feathers then being exposed. That was really pretty. And in Kauru, yeah, you said that you never knew that pelicans migrate. And I should almost said melicans, like melicans pygate, but that's not what I was trying to say, of course. Yeah, Kauru, I need to just double check. I don't want to tell you any nonsense, but for the life of me, I can't remember. I want to say, is it like from Central or Northern Africa that maybe they come down for our winter? I don't know. I don't know. Just disregard what I said there, but they do migrate. Because I know, gosh, you go up into Chad and those places, and there's plenty of pelicans. Head down to Tanzania to, oh my gosh, what's wrong with my brain? Nyerere National Park, which was Selous. So I was trying to remember that name. Selous Game Reserve. A lot of you probably know it as that. There are so many pelicans there. I've never seen so many in my life, in fact. Great birding and crocodile destination. I had so much fun. But they look like they're all just resting now. Some of them might rest on the ground, although it's quite risky. I'm sure they have preferred trees within the area that once the sun goes down, which won't be too much longer from now, they'll eventually migrate to the trees. But what a great moment spent with the pelicans. Two of them look like they're sound asleep while others are still brushing their feathers, if you will. Let's go back to Oldonyo and see what animals will be quenching their thirst. More than one giraffe. We're back at Oldonyo in Kenya. One that prefers to stand on the edge and another that prefers to submerge her heels. Maybe she's soaking her feet. She does look on the pregnant side of things. There we go. Look at that one on the right, really having to splay her legs wide open. And I don't know why I feel the need now, after all these years, to get up and see if I was a giraffe, if I could drink like one. And there's some wattled starlings. Hello, starlings. Kauru, you've said that was really interesting information, and you are grateful that I answered your question. It's a pleasure. I'll answer everybody's questions. And there come the eland at the back. Not Africa's, the world's largest antelope. Give them all of the credit where it's due. You also hear some doves. There's often lots of ring-necked doves around here. And giraffe now moving out of the way. Make some room for the eland, please. Or the eland don't seem to mind. They just find a gap and take. Casper's third ghost, you said, what a wonderful bird day. You said, thank you so much for all the info and that you love, love, love the storks. I shall pass the message on via pigeon, although there's no pigeons here, though. But hopefully that message gets to those storks. See what I mean when I say eland don't care, they just find a gap and take it. I need the confidence of one of these antelope, that's for sure. And the giraffe are not perturbed at all by the eland's presence. They typically are quite placid and will move out of the way when there's any conflict. That's a giraffe I'm talking about. Although I think it would be great if a giraffe just stood up for itself and demanded its space. I don't know who would fight with an animal so much taller than it. I'd like to see an elephant. Well, I would like to see the argument between an elephant and a giraffe. It would be quite interesting. We know it didn't end up well for one giraffe, but I think that was quite a crazy experience. Don't you just love that splashing sound? April Owl, you've asked, are the smaller, browner storks young? I didn't see the smaller, browner storks, to be quite honest. While we were there, I must have missed them. I'm so sorry, April Owl. But a lot of the time, it really just depends. A lot of young birds start out in sort of, I suppose it really depends on what dominant coloration the adults have. But I think with young storks, they're like a mottled whitish color. Well, at least the young marabou storks. I've never seen a baby marabou stork, but I imagine it's got more white on it than anything, just looking at the colors of the feathers of the adults. There goes the guinea fowl again. Yes, we can hear you. Now the giraffe are moving off. Goodbye. Gosh, there's so many birds. Look at them. Just everywhere. Okay, it sounds like the starlings are really happy now. You hear a zebra in the background. Hello, guinea fowl. You going to come and have a quick drink? Where are the rest of you? We just sort of keep seeing the odd guinea fowl appearing every now and then, but they're not really coming out and causing havoc like they normally do. They're rather entertaining to watch. However, the wattled starlings will keep us entertained. All coming in to have a drink, another gregarious bird species. They do spend a lot of time with one another. And it's a pity we don't read in South Africa very much. You get wattled, but I've never seen them in extremely big flocks. Like, even for me, this group is quite big. I think the most I've ever seen is like 5 or 6 together. But it would be great, to have an exceptional flock like this. And again, in Tanzania, I've seen some really big groups following the animals through the grass. Something scared them, or not scary enough for two birds to sort of stay and drink the water. We're just scanning the edge. Oh, there you are, guinea fowl. Why are you hiding from us? The dove? Although, of course, the starlings being bossy, chasing the doves away. I don't think they're going to try chase a guinea fowl away, that's for sure. And I'm wondering if this is a... I'm trying to see properly. Is this a young helmeted guinea fowl? The reason why I say that, yeah, it must be. It must be one from last year. Did you notice how it didn't have any really much blue on it? It didn't sort of have its, I don't know what you call those things, the wattles. That's probably a youngster from last year that's now grown up and almost at adulthood. Sorry, everybody. It looks like the Oldonyo camera froze, so we're back with the storks. And now they're giving their weary feet a little bit of a break. So they're actually sitting down on their ankle joints right now. Quite flexible. I wish I could do that. But sometimes they do need to give their legs a bit of a rest. That must be so strange to do that. I wonder what it would feel like. And can they walk like that? Because I'd be that strange bird that decided, you know what? I don't like being so tall. I'm going to live my life on my ankles and just hobble around. Of course, you'd be disadvantaged heavily. I don't know why I sometimes say some of the things that go on in my head out loud, because it must make me seem like a complete crazy person. But anyways, I suppose the good ones are. Oh, these birds are going to sleep. They look like they're in a complete trance now. In the sun, warming up their backs, just like what we were seeing with the dark-capped bulbuls. You can see the odd crocodile also in the background. They're all jumping in on this trend now and having a quick siesta. Maybe they're just going to sleep there the whole night. I actually don't know. I have yet to be here, and I've not watched this camera at nighttime. I don't know if you can. I'm not sure if there's an infrared light or an artificial light. I missed the stork that was playing with the sticks. I wish it would go back and do that. And April Owl, if you see the small brown storks, let me know. I'm wondering where they are. So if you do have any direction in that, please don't hold back on guiding us. Looks like there's also lots of little feathers. Do you see the little tiny white things on the ground surrounding the Marabou storks? Especially if you look towards the right, you can see how they're all moving around in the wind. It might be tiny little down feathers that they've pulled out. They tend to dislodge quite easily. Okay. Whoa, wait, what's that one got? Is that the stick again? What is that? I don't know what it's just eaten. Or was it hair? Maybe it's weaving a basket. But anyways, let's go see what the giraffe are doing at Oldonyo. Oh, we're back drinking water with the guinea fowl now. So perhaps that's what the guinea fowl were waiting for, the protection of this giraffe bull. Who's going to mess with him? Maybe a big elephant or a pride lion. Otherwise, it's pretty safe. But all the guinea fowl have emerged out of nowhere. They've been scratching, picking up dirt, trying to dig open elephant dung for all sorts of things to eat. But from here, it's normally a drink of water. They'll chase one another around, and then they go and find a tree to roost in. And there are plenty of trees around here that they can spend a bit of time in, although most of them are quite prickly. There we go. There's the chasing that I was telling you about. Although this group is quite placid. Don't like it when the giraffe jumps up, though. Not a fan of that. But to be fair, if anybody did that to me while I was ordering a drink at the bar, I'd probably also have a dramatic reaction. The zebra are there. We can hear them. Maybe they've already come down to have a drink, or perhaps they're waiting their turn. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to hang around for too much longer to be able to see if they do make their way here. But it has been such a great afternoon, a little bit on the quiet side, but lovely to see. Really looking forward to the Lentoro camera. Please keep a bird list so you can share which birds I need to keep an eye out for. But from myself and the Africam team, thank you so much, and we will see you on Thursday for Wild Moments.